Behind the Shades.
We're bombarded with images of what? Of positivity, of greatness. Oh, this girl's on social media. Did you see that girl's
Yes.
ass? You see that
Mm-hmm.
guy's on social media. Did you see his abs? And you
Mm-hmm.
look at your partner and you're like,
Look at my little chubby baby. Yeah, right. Like that whole
you're
the
right.
whole world, like exactly, like the world in which we really like have an idea of like what it means to grow old with someone. That's really hard to conceptualize. And I love what you're saying there, just in the space of the ways in which we look around at the opportunities and it's the classic grass is greener on the other side. But the problem with that is something going back to my Jamaican mother-in-law. She used to always say, Rachel girl, no matter where you go, you take yourself with you. And that's the thing. There's this way in which we have, and I think it's an age-old story, but we're still wrestling with it as human beings. We haven't cracked the code on this yet, how to stop externalizing our joy and our happiness. We keep looking for the guy or the girl or the guys or the, like, who knows? Like, if you're polyamorous, right? You want to have layers and layers of relationships. We're looking for the job. We're looking for the home. We're looking for the car. And that all of these things are going to somehow add up to this internal sense of like worth and contentment. And of course, it never, ever works. And so how do we actually cultivate a sense of contentment, remaining, right? Like there's this song, just like, all I really want is love that lasts, when I'm in my sappy romance like place. I'm like, this is one of the songs that I listen to. I'm a hopeless romantic. I love the idea of having to old forever and ever, amen. And yet I've been in broken relationships, multiple times, and it's frustrating, right? And I fall into the trap, and I certainly see others. So what do you think about that piece, the externalizing contentment, joy, happiness aspect of things? You think that's at play? Do you think it's that plus something else?
I think it comes from people not getting it internally.
Right.
If you were to externalize your joy, right, meaning that your joy is going to come from something other than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I would ask the question, why is that happening? People think I'm arrogant when I walk by in a mirror and I do the double take.
Mm-hmm.
When I walk by a mirror, I look in the mirror because I feel,
good for you. Yes.
I'm the hottest thing in the world. God gave, when God said, let there be man, he was thinking of me. Like that needs to be right? To the Christians out there, I do apologize for that blasphemy, but
oh dear. Yeah, don't you think that's how God would want all of his beings and creatures to feel about themselves? Like,
you need to love yourself that way.
Right, exactly. Like I think that's a an honor to a deity or a God, because especially in the concept of like we are created in the image of, God isn't walking around feeling worthless. God isn't walking, this concept, this idea, right? So if our beingness is a derivative of that essence, this is one of the things that Mary Baker Eddy says in Christian Science. If we are born of the tree and the roots are good, then the limbs and the branches can only be good. Yeah. And so walk by and love on yourself, especially because if you're not doing it for you, you can't count on anybody else to do that. It's bonus when somebody else speaks that into your life. I jumped in again. Go ahead, Terrain. Sorry.
No, you're right. But that's the question people have to ask themselves.
Yeah.
Right. Because I asked someone this question, and I was and they had to take a pause. I asked them, do you love you? Mm-hmm. And the person said they don't know. And I asked them, okay, what is preventing you from loving you? And they had these reasons, like, well, I can lose a little bit of weight. I wish I was more active, all this stuff, right? I wish I had a little bit more. I wish I dressed better, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting how it always comes down to physical appearance, because that's what we show the world.
Yeah.
Right. So when I asked them that question, I followed up with this. If you don't love you in the way you want to be loved, why do you expect anyone else to? They took a step back.
Yeah.
I was like, isn't that fair? Isn't it fair to say that if you don't love yourself in your current state, why should someone else? Because the person doesn't owe you the love. Mm-hmm. You owe yourself the love.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I love myself and I've worked on myself to a point where I can say that I love every part of me. Not a lot
Mm,
of people can say that. And if they can't say that, don't expect the world to love you or to give you that love, because for those listening, the world is a cold place and the world owes you nothing. It doesn't owe you understanding, it doesn't owe
yeah.
you forgiveness. It just owes you a place to exist in. And I
Hmm.
think that's where it comes from, Rachel, because unfortunately, and I think it's going to get worse, mental health is a real issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fact that we have people isolated, alone, broken, losing people around them, whether it's because they've lost jobs, they've died, they've fallen sick,
Hmm.
whatever the case is, where else are you going to find love? And the cheapest, fastest way is to take a selfie, alter it, put your filters
Oh,
on, put
come
it out for the
on.
world to see.
Right?
And then when you see the likes and you say, oh, you go girl, you go guy, you look this, it's a
Yeah.
drug.
The
Because
facade
how
of it
many
all.
people have stayed
Yeah.
in toxic relationships because the
Mm.
person told them after they've hit them, after they've broken them down, after they've yelled at them, after they've disrespected them in so many different ways, they said the words, I love you.